What if déjà vu is an echo from a life you're already living somewhere else? Today you're going to understand Thoth's blueprint for opening the gateway that isn't outside. It's built into you. Parallel realities aren't something you access. That's the illusion keeping you asleep. Right this second, infinite versions of you are living out every choice you didn't make. And here's what most people miss. You're not separated from those realities. You are the living gateway between them. In this presentation, you'll discover why mirrors appear in every esoteric tradition as doorways between worlds. How mystics didn't perform miracles. They accessed what Thoth called the simultaneous self. And the reason your deepest regrets aren't mistakes. They're maps leading you to versions of yourself that made different decisions. But first, you need to understand what the Egyptians meant when they said, "The gateway doesn't open outward, it opens inward." Because without this key, you'll keep searching for doors while standing inside the temple. There's an image Thoth used to explain this to initiates. He spoke of the human being as a diamond with infinite facets. Each facet reflects a different reality, a different choice, a different life, and all are happening now, not in some distant, unreachable universe, but here, now, vibrating at a frequency slightly different from your current perception. You're not a straight line from birth to death. You're a multidimensional hologram where all possibilities coexist. And consciousness, what you call I, is the observation point that decides which facet of the diamond you'll experience in this moment. Think about this. Since childhood you were told the past is dead, the future is uncertain, and the present is all that exists. But that narrative never made complete sense, did it? Because there are moments in your life where you feel something different. You wake from a dream so vivid, so real, that for several seconds you don't know which world you're actually in. You look in the mirror and for a split second you see someone different looking back. You enter a place you've never been and know exactly where everything is. Modern science calls this déjà vu and tells you it's just a brain processing error. But Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the one who recorded creation's secrets in the emerald tablets, knew something different. He knew time isn't linear, that consciousness isn't trapped in the body, and that each choice doesn't just create a future, it creates an entire universe. Breathe. Feel this for a moment. You're not just who you think you are in this moment. You're all the versions existing simultaneously, and what separates you from them isn't distance, it's frequency. In the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, initiates learned something fundamental through a symbol, the mirror. Why does the mirror appear in all esoteric traditions? Why is it so present in fairy tales, in myths, in mystical practices? Because the mirror doesn't just reflect, it reveals. Egyptian priests polished bronze mirrors until they became perfect. And in these mirrors, in altered states of consciousness, they saw not just the body's reflection, but the soul's multiple layers. They saw past lives, future lives, parallel lives. The mirror became a portal. But here's what Thoth taught explicitly. The most important mirror isn't hanging on the wall. It's the internal mirror of consciousness. When you close your eyes and observe your thoughts, when you meditate and witness the observer observing, you're activating the internal portal. You're positioning yourself at the diamond's center, where all facets become visible. This isn't metaphor. It's spiritual technology. Carl Jung, the psychologist who deeply studied Hermetic mysteries, discovered something fascinating. He realized certain symbols, certain images, certain patterns appear in all cultures, in all times, without contact between them. How is this possible? Because there's a plane where all consciousness is touch. What Jung called the collective unconscious is exactly what Thoth described as the astral plane, the dimension where veils between realities are thin enough for information to leak from one universe to another. And here's what few understand. When you dream, you're not creating random fantasy. You're literally accessing other versions of your own existence. During sleep, especially deep sleep, barriers between realities become porous. Your consciousness literally leaks into other dimensions of your own existence. And sometimes, you bring memories back. Memories of choices you made in another timeline. Memories of a version of you living a completely different life. This explains why you sometimes wake with absolute certainty that something happened, something important, something real. You remember conversations, places, choices. But when you check, none of it happened in this reality. Science calls this false memory and closes the case. But what if it's not false? What if it's a real memory from a parallel reality your consciousness touched during sleep? Breathe with this. Let this possibility enter. Now you might be wondering, but how? How do I access these other versions of myself consciously? How do I tune into other frequencies? And this is where most modern teachings fail. They tell you to visualize, to affirm, to use the law of attraction. And yes, these things have their place. But Thoth taught something much deeper. He taught a protocol, a map with 4 steps he called the 4 gateways of the initiate. First gateway, silence. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about not letting the world define your frequency. When you're constantly reacting, constantly consuming information, constantly in survival mode, you're trapped in the densest frequency. The frequency where only one reality seems to exist. But when you create spaces of silence, when you meditate, when you disconnect from external chaos, something happens. Your frequency rises naturally, and as it rises, veils between realities begin becoming transparent. So the first step isn't to do something, it's to stop doing. It's to create the void where the portal can open. 5 minutes per day. That's all. No music, no mantra, no elaborate technique. Just you sitting, observing breath, allowing external noise to dissolve. Second gateway, identification. Here you ask, which version of me do I want to access? This isn't about creating something from nothing. It's about recognizing what already exists at a different frequency. So close your eyes and feel. Is there a version of you already living what you call purpose? Yes, it exists. Is there a version of you that already made the decisions you're afraid to make here? Yes, it exists. Is there a version of you that already healed what you still carry? Yes, it exists. You're not inventing, you're recognizing, and recognition is the key that opens the portal. Third gateway, attunement. This is where most people stumble. They try to force with the mind, but the logical mind doesn't access other dimensions. Emotion does. Emotion is the language consciousness uses to change channels, so you don't visualize the other reality. You feel what it would be like to be in it. When you feel the gratitude of already having what you desire, you're not pretending. You're literally accessing the frequency where that is already true. When you feel the peace of already having solved the problem, you're not deluding yourself. You're aligning with the timeline where the solution already manifested. Tesla said something profound. If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla understood what Thoth inscribed millennia before. Each reality operates on a specific frequency, and you change frequency through what you feel, not what you think. Fourth gateway, integration. Here you bring wisdom from the other reality into this one. This isn't about abandoning who you are. It's about expanding who you are. You ask, what does the version of me already living that know that I don't yet know? And you listen, not with ears, not with mind, with your entire being. And the answer comes, sometimes as a sudden insight, sometimes as an impossible synchronicity, sometimes as a subtle shift in how you perceive reality. And when it comes, you act. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment, and you're not here to be entertained. You're here to awaken. Let me show you how this works in practice. Thoth left a specific ritual for initiates wanting to consciously cross the portal. It's a 7-day process. 7 because 7 is the number of cycles, of passages, of initiations. In the first 3 days, you only practice silence. 5 minutes upon waking, you sit, close your eyes, and observe breath. Don't try to control. Don't try to empty the mind. Just observe. And at the end of those 5 minutes, you ask one single question. Which version of me do I need to meet today? And then you release. Don't force an answer. Don't expect anything. Just release and go live the day. On days 4, 5, and 6, you add attunement. After silence, you choose an emotion from the reality you want to access. If it's the reality where you're already in your purpose, you feel what you would feel being there. Don't visualize. Feel. 3 minutes only. Feeling with your entire body. and then release again. On the seventh day, you integrate. You wake, and before opening your eyes, you ask, what has changed? And you'll notice. Memories that don't fit. Insights that came from nowhere. Synchronicities that defy probability. Because you're no longer trapped in a single frequency. You've begun navigating. And here's the secret Thoth left for the most advanced. The more you do this, the more conscious you become of something extraordinary. You're not just accessing other versions of yourself. All other versions of you are accessing you too. It's a two-way street. Right now, there's a version of you in a reality where she's desperate, lost, without direction. And she's feeling you. She's receiving echoes of your frequency. And those echoes are what she calls hope, intuition, an inexplicable feeling that there's something more. You're being the mentor, the guide, the portal for versions of yourself that are in denser frequencies. And simultaneously, there are versions of you in much higher frequencies doing the same for you. That inspiration that comes from nowhere. That solution appearing in a dream. That inexplicable certainty of which path to follow. It's not coincidence, it's not luck. It's you being guided by yourself, through portals between realities. There's something even deeper that needs to be revealed. Thoth spoke about the Eye of Horus, the most recognized symbol of ancient Egypt. But what few know is the Eye of Horus doesn't just represent protection. It represents the vision that penetrates veils, the ability to see beyond the illusion of a single reality. And when you activate the Eye of Horus within you, when you truly awaken to the multidimensional nature of your own existence, something happens. Fear disappears. Because you realize that no matter what happens in this reality, you continue existing in infinite others. Scarcity disappears. Because you realize that at some frequency, you already have everything you need. The feeling of being trapped disappears. Because you realize you can change channels at any moment. And deeper still, you realize you can influence these other realities from here. Can send strength, wisdom, love through internal portals. Can heal traumas, not just in this life, but in all your simultaneous expressions. This explains so many phenomena science can't explain. Geniuses accessing knowledge from nowhere. Child prodigies playing instruments as if they already knew. Ordinary people who in crisis moments demonstrate abilities they never trained. Where does this come from? It comes from other versions of you, other expressions of the same essence that developed these capacities in other timelines. And in moments where veils become thin, in moments of high emotion, extreme danger, altered states of consciousness, you access this multidimensional database of your own being. Breathe with this. Feel the weight of this revelation. You were never alone. You've always had access to infinite versions of yourself. You just didn't know how to open the portal. Now comes the part few are prepared to hear. What if your greatest regrets aren't mistakes? What if they're portals? Every time you think, what if I had done differently? You're not just imagining. You're literally feeling the resonance of a version of you that did differently. It exists. It's alive. It's calling you through the veil. And here's the hidden purpose of regret, according to Thoth. It's not to torture you with what could have been. It's to show you that what could have been is being, just at a different frequency. And if you learn to tune into that frequency, you can access the wisdom, the experience, even the capacities of that other version of you. Think about this. That decision you didn't make 10 years ago, the job you refused, the relationship that ended, the change you didn't make. In some parallel reality, you made the opposite decision, and it's living the consequences. It learned lessons you didn't learn. It developed strengths you didn't develop, and all of that is available to you, not as distant memory, but as wisdom accessible now, through the internal portal. And here's something that will change how you see your own journey. Your life's purpose isn't to discover something new. It's to remember what you already know in other dimensions of your own existence. It's to integrate the wisdom of all your versions. It's to become conscious of the entire diamond, not just the facet you call I in this moment. Because when you do this, when you truly awaken to this, you stop seeking outside. You stop waiting for something external to save you. You stop looking for the guru, the method, the magic technique, because you realize you are the portal. You are the key. You are the temple. So what do you do now with this information? First, you stop seeking parallel realities outside yourself. They're not in a crystal, not in a ritual, not in a distant sacred place. They're within you, accessible through the door that never closed, the door of consciousness observing itself. Second, you start paying attention to the signs. Déjà vu aren't errors, they're echoes. Recurring dreams aren't random, they're visits. Synchronicities aren't coincidences, they're confirmations you're changing frequency. During the next 3 days, do this. Observe how many times the number 3 appears in your life. On the clock, on license plates, in conversations. Write it down. These are universe echoes confirming you've crossed the threshold. And third, you practice the protocol Thoth left. Silence, identification, attunement, integration. Every day, even if just 5 minutes, you close your eyes and ask, which version of me do I want to access today? And you feel the answer, not with mind, but with your entire being. And here's what will happen. In the first days, maybe nothing obvious. But if you persist, if you truly do this as a practice, not as a casual experiment, you'll begin noticing memories that don't fit, skills you don't remember developing, people commenting you've changed in a way they can't define. Because you didn't change, you jumped, you tuned into another frequency, you accessed another expression of who you always were. And the more you do this, the more conscious you become that the question was never, who am I? The question always was, which of the infinite expressions of me do I choose to experience now? There's one final truth that must be told, a truth Thoth inscribed in the emerald tablets with a clear warning. This knowledge isn't for everyone, not because anyone is unworthy, but because not everyone is ready for the responsibility that comes with it. When you awaken to the fact that infinite versions of you are living infinite possibilities, you lose the ability to play victim. You lose the excuse that you had no choice. You lose the comfort of blaming destiny, karma, luck. Because if infinite realities exist, and if you can access them, then every limitation you experience is a choice. Unconscious, perhaps. Inherited, perhaps. But still, a choice. And the moment you accept this completely, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop searching. You stop asking permission. And you begin crossing the portals one by one, day after day, choice after choice, until you realize there was never separation. All versions of you were always here. You were just looking in the wrong direction. So now in this moment you have a choice. You can close this presentation and return to the frequency where only one reality exists, where you're just who you've always been, where the future is uncertain and the past is unchangeable. Or you can take this seriously, can start the practice, can start observing the signs, can start tuning into other frequencies, and discover for yourself that everything said here isn't theory. It's experience accessible to anyone willing to cross the portal. If something in you recognized this truth, know it wasn't by accident. You were called. And if you feel you need to seal this portal that just opened inside you, go to the comments and write just 2 words. I remember. These words aren't for me. They're for the other versions of you watching through your eyes. It's the multidimensional recognition. And when you write it, something will shift. You'll feel it. Now place your right hand over your heart. Feel the pulse. Each beat is a different reality choosing to exist through you. Breathe and recognize. You are the living portal. The portal doesn't open outward but inward, and you were never lost, just distracted by the wrong doors. Thoth saw you. And now, do you remember?